Joining us now with an exclusive update is Robert Scott Bell.
Thanks again, Michael. Good to be back with you and the Savage Nation audience, especially the week of the Independence Day celebration, although it may be hard to find things for which to celebrate in a country that is under Obama. And it wasn't one nation under Obama. It was one nation under God, as we know. And this past week, they passed another, 2,000-page bill into law who's read about financial enslaving of all Americans. Of course, it's a Wall Street bill, as they say, but has little or nothing to do with improving freedom in America, everything to do with regulating whatever is left of freedom on out. And if we think about the forcing of the use of what we call fiat fractional reserve-based money, paper money backed by nothing, I'm thinking nutritionally speaking, why doesn't Obama just go ahead and make Twinkies mandatory as well, right? Hostess cupcakes, Twinkies for everybody, because that has about as much integrity as the money has at this point. And when we speak of course, eating, it isn't all about calories. You know, people are under the impression it's all about what calories you put in there, never about the quality of the calories when it comes to government. And there was an interesting report, Michael, about organic food recently. They say it has a special halo. Is it angelic? Is it angel food cake that's organic? Well, sort of, because this study was about junk food. They were comparing people or talking to people who ate organic junk food as opposed to those when they ate non-organic junk food. And study participants who ate the cookies labeled as organic thought they contained 40% fewer calories than those who ate the same unlabeled cookies. That might be just regular, conventionally grown and baked cookies. And I think this really sends everybody down the wrong direction. People, even those that like to eat organic, are being duped by the calories in, calories out concept. It's a very kind of immature concept about how the body's metabolism actually functions. Mm-hmm. It tells me a lot that we have a lot of ways to go before even those that are trying to do better really understand what it takes to be well. Because when a focal point is all about calories and nothing about toxins, you know, what's the point of comparing organic junk food to synthetic junk food? I mean, it's still junk food. Okay, albeit with maybe a few less toxins. Okay, I'll give you that. But, the concept of how we interact with calories, how we interact with the food, if the food is pure and whole and unadulterated, non-genetically modified, of course, by God, we know what to do with it. Our body cells know what to do with it. It's broken down into ever smaller parts until it is released to be utilized in the body as energy. Which really bugs me about people that argue against energy medicine, if you think about it, because how can you argue that energy doesn't affect or impact on matter? Of course it does. I mean, the simple act of hearing words can impact your energy levels. If the words are insulting or upsetting to you, it alters your energy. How you feel, that alters your physiology. This is not rocket science. It's not new age frou-frou. I mean, this is basic concepts of how life itself works. So when we talk about the economics of scale, we've got to understand that you just can't print money out of thin air and expect it to retain the value, even though there are legal tender laws. It's kind of like, that's why I made the joke about, let's just force everybody to eat Hostess cupcakes. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? It'd be easy to make them all. But, the fact that multinational corporations with no allegiance to any nation or state abhor competition should be a clue to us all. What should that clue be about? Of course, it's that there's actually one entity larger than even the multinational corporations that abhors competition even more than they do.
Well, what is that?
That entity is known as government. And again, I'm tying in these two very important nutritional issues, economic nutrition or nutritional economics and nutritional nutrition. Because in regards to the economic status we have, being forced since 1913 under legal tender laws under the Federal Reserve Act to accept something that is devoid of genuine value versus what thousands of years has taught us about the use of metals like gold, for instance. And even if you don't want a gold standard, I know a lot of people argue against it, whoop-de-doo! You could have the freedom to choose it. Why not? Isn't freedom a fundamental American ideal as we're heading into the Independence Day celebration? The birth of our nation, the Declaration of Independence, where now we are celebrating a declaration of dependence. Dependence on the pharmaceutical industrial complex for our sustenance. How absurd is that? And dependence on international bankers and Wall Street financiers for our economic sustenance, as Obama and even those preceding him have basically laid waste to the idea that Americans could choose for themselves how they want to be compensated, how they want to work, how they want to enter into contracts, whether they want to be paid in gold or silver or fiat money. Should that not be the choice of every American to make if we believe that we are born with a fundamental inherent, let's say, if we call it a gene for freedom, the freedom to choose our lives as long as we violated the rights of no one else. And so even if you're woefully ignorant of money, the business cycle, and free markets, why would anybody be against free competition in currency? I mean, who would argue against that freedom? Okay, we don't have to set up one standard. Let people decide what they want to utilize.
I see what you mean.
Would you choose gold, silver, or paper backed by nothing in exchange for your goods and services if you could? And, of course, that begs the question, or maybe answers the question as to why they don't want freedom. Because they know that Americans would be smart enough to say, hey, enough with the paper, let's trade in tangibles. Let's trade in something that actually will retain its value and not lose it over time. Remember, the dollar, as it stands as defined by the Federal Reserve System, is worth, less than 4 cents compared to the dollar it was in 1913. So don't tell me when Bernanke goes up and says, I'm here, the Federal Reserve System is here to protect the integrity of the dollar. No, they've trashed the dollar for almost 100 years. And Obama's not smart enough to figure it out, or, in fact, he is so smart that he wants to continue the destruction of the American way of life by destroying us economically. And even if you're woefully ignorant about natural ways, for instance, to cure cancer, things we've covered here on the Savage Nation, why would you be against free competition in health and healing?